Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday morning. I am your host, Mr. Kadish, the producer of the Salty Nerd podcast, the often unsung hero, if you will, of the live streams that we do on this channel. Speaking of unsung heroes, let me introduce you to my fantastic panel of nerds today, starting with the man, the myth, the legend, Dutch Butters. How you doing, Dutch?
I'm here. I don't know what I would do without you in my life, Matthew. You make it easier to live and breathe and do and everything else. Eat. You know, I would not know how to function if you didn't give me a spreadsheet on the weekly basis about how to get through my daily life. So
yes, I tuck you in at night as well.
Thank you for being you and everything that you do. You make all of our lives easier and more pleasant just by being around. So
indeed.
Thanks, thank you.
Even if you don't see all the stories I send you in that spreadsheet.
Right. That's right.
Just a minute ago, I was talking about the order in which we're going to go through stuff, and Dutch was like, "What's this? I don't remember this story."
And there it was, right there, top of the list.
Yes, indeed. Like, speaking of top of the list, he's here. He's queer. He's our shield against all things intersectional. Brian from the Popcast. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I feel a little left out. I'm not tucked in at night ever. So,
well, if you live closer, I'd make the trip.
If you ask nice, he'll massage your toes. Individually, one at a time. It's really nice.
Moving to Vegas, man. I need that.
That's really nice.
And for our special political episode, Brian's wearing his special political hat.
Yeah,
as well.
That's nice. I have a MAGA hat back there. Should I go put it on?
No.
No.
It's like an original. It's like from the 2016 campaign. Man.
Oh, this one that looks like a really weird, like almost golf hat.
It's got a weird font on it.
Yeah. And joining us once more, one of our favorite YouTubers on the planet, Smitty from Smitty's Snippets. How you doing, Smitty?
Doing great. I don't know if I feel all the love that Dutch Butters does for you, but
but he doesn't massage your toes. So, you know.
Yes. T for toes in the chat if you want to see Dutch Butters' toes massaged.
If you
very
tip
gently.
him, he uses lotion. If you tip him a little bit,
just a little bit.
It's just
a little bit.
It's getting weird, too personal. I'm sorry, Matt. That's our business.
Would you give a man a foot massage, Mr. Foot fucking Master? Yes. So Odin is on his way. He will be joining us shortly. We don't know where Tom Connors Jr. is because he's either asleep or eating cereal. He's too busy eating cereal to join us. But hopefully he will show up at some point in the live stream. If not, he will be here in spirit. But before we get going, guys, I just want to apologize to everyone because it was such a slow news week on the entertainment front. Like there was absolutely nothing going on to talk about, in my opinion anyway, that we decided to go a little bit political today. But it's all political in the sense of like how it affects entertainment and stuff like that. So if you guys, like we're not trying to, say one side's better than the other or whatever. We respect all viewpoints here on Salty Saturday. But, like we're also not going to censor anyone. So if they want to express their political point of view, we're going to let them do it. And you can also do it in the chat. We just ask that you guys be respectful and not get too bent out of shape about any one particular thing because, hey, it's election season. It's going to get political.
It's going to be hard, man.
It's going to be very hard.
I don't know.
But we're going to have fun today, and we're going to talk about a lot of very interesting topics. But before we get to that, I want to let everyone know that we're still testing out this new YouTube Super Chat feature, which sets Super Chat goals. And last week, we hit our goal of 10 Super Chats, where we were going to drink a Coke after hitting that milestone. This week, we're doing 20 Super Chats, so $25 Super Chats. If we can hit that over the course of the 2-hour live stream, we will have successfully satisfied YouTube's requirements of us for this test. And we will also be doing Coke as a reward for hitting all 20 of those things.
That's lame, dude.
Just like we did last week. We'll grab a Coke from the fridge and do it.
I want to see you chug one of those bottles of scotch over there that's next to you.
No. That we would need significantly more Super Chats to do that one. But in terms of our membership goals, as always, we're going to be going for 10 new memberships during the course of the live stream, and we're already halfway there, and I will get to that in just one minute. But also want to remind everyone that after this live stream is over, we're going to be directing everyone to Mephisto's movie reviews. He does a Saturday live stream called The Real McCoy, where he talks about movies and TV shows and stuff like that. Maybe Tom will show up for that. I mean, who knows? But want to give big shout out to Mephisto's movie reviews. So if you guys aren't following them on YouTube, go over there and follow them and watch their live stream right after ours. So it should be good. And also in the chat, we have a link to Smitty Snippets YouTube channel. If you're not following Smitty, you are missing out. He is one of our favorite YouTubers out there because he hates stuff as much as we do. And he's has a lot of fun breaking them down. In fact, we discovered him through his Invasion reviews. Are you excited for Invasion Season 3, Smitty?
I absolutely am. So glad. Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. All right, guys. And real quick, we've got big shout out to Brian G, who is not only our top super chatter with $500 in one super chat, but he is also now our top contributor. Thank you so much, Brian G. You have dropped a lot of money on us, and we appreciate your support, as well as Scotty Dub, who's coming in close second at $400 for a super chat in one go. Scotty Dub, thank you so much. You've been a longtime supporter of the channel. Really appreciate you. And of course, we got William Forbus bringing up the rear for $120 super chat. William Forbus, we haven't seen you in a while, but we hope you're doing well. And also Mexican Iron Man. He's our most consistent donator, although he hasn't been on the last couple live streams. I don't know what happened to him.
He's probably out there being busy, not being a YouTuber.
No, it's monkeypox, bro. It's monkeypox.
Yeah, he's suffering from monkeypox right now.
Yeah,
well, we wish you a
sure.
speedy recovery, Mexican Iron Man. Or Mpox, as they're reframing it, is nothing to sneeze at. And also, big shout out to all of our top gifters. We have Jillian N. and Bob Dorsey, a new top gifter who's been dropping memberships left and right. Good to see. I hope Bob Dorsey's here in the chat today, but if not, thanks so much, Bob. And we also got Sam Schwager, Major Chai Chai, and Eric Winberg bringing up the rear in terms of gifted memberships. And guys, he is the Lord of the Shelves, the king of the pineapple pizza. He has arrived victoriously. Odin of OMB Reviews.
The All-Father.
The All-Father, yes. Now, Odin, I know that you think doing Coke as a reward for 20 super chats is weak, but if you have a better suggestion, I am open to it.
I mean, I wish we should probably start planning these out a bit more, so that way all of us can do it, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it could be like each of us will have a piece of pizza and just like shove it in our mouths all in one go. I don't know.
I find it very interesting because Matt is extremely methodical about everything that he does.
Yeah.
And the best he can come up with is, I'm going to have a drink of Coke.
I'm going to drink a Coke. It's going to be the best Coke in the world. It's going to be the best.
Zero, no sugar.
No
Be
sugar.
great. Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've been dealing with insurance and break-in stuff for like a week. So the super chat goal was a little bit low on my list of priorities. But if you're going to give me a hard time about it, fine. I'm going to come up with something crazy, but you all better do it when I lay down the law about this thing.
And I think
now he's laying the law down.
Laying the law down in my spreadsheets.
One of my mods, Laura, gave a good suggestion: the hokey pokey for super chats.
Ooh, how about we all take our shirts off? Would that do it?
Oh, that's
Nobody
too
wants
far
to see that.
Nobody wants to see that.
I'm modest, okay? So
Yes, indeed. What about shaving our beards? Would we all shave our beards?
Not
for charity.
Not
I've
for
always said
$5 super chats. Hell no.
I've always said that I will shave my beard, no problem, for charity.
Well, how many super chats would it take to shave all of our beards? I'm just curious. I'm not saying we're going to do it.
Charity.
$10,000.
$10,000?
Yeah.
The super
If
chats?
you ever get $10,000 in super chats, I'll shave my beard too.
All right, guys. Well, hey, speaking of super chats, we got Major Chai Chai dropping 5 Salty Nerd Gifted Podcast memberships. Thank you so much, Major Chai Chai. You are always a stalwart membership gifter. We really appreciate it. I know that the people in the chat probably appreciate it as well. And for $5, we got Bohemian Paul, number 1. He is number 1. So you are our first $5 super chat to get to our goal. So now we only have 18 more to go. And we're at 18 because of Shorty Short for $5. Drink a Coke while holding it in your feet if you want more of my money. LOL.
There you go.
Yeah,
I could do that.
I'm over 40. I can't promise anything like that.
I could
anymore.
do that. I'm very flexible.
The Macarena.
Indeed. The Macarena. All right, guys. So we got our first story today, which is, of course, the U.S. government will take action against fake reviews and AI-generated reviews. So, guys, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, is going to tackle the problem of fake reviews. And by the way, guys, all the articles that we feature on the show are listed in the description if you want to go read them for yourselves. But this comes from GameSpot, so you know it's got to be good and accurate. But it's very funny because what this story is actually about is how the FTC is doing consumer protection stuff to make sure that companies aren't posting fake product reviews on a paid basis. So it's like, if you buy something off of Amazon, right? Like they want to make sure that the reviews are all accurate and that AI isn't just like, churning these things out. But the way that Blair Marnell from GameSpot spun this is that review bombing has become a way of life as shows like Star Wars The Acolyte have been inundated with fake reviews bashing the series. Guys, how many, Smitty, I know that you covered The Acolyte. How many fake reviews did you see for that show?
0. They were all dead on.
Yeah.
They were absolute trash. I mean, who's gonna fake that? They saw it. They know it's bad. So,
Yeah. What are you faking?
I don't understand that.
Yeah, specific plot points that we all watched and how poor they were. Like, come on, what are you faking?
The only thing that would be fake is if I wrote like a really good review of anything with a Star Wars name attached to it here lately. So, yeah, I keep getting these images in my head of just from the title of this of the hello, who's there? It's the police. What do you want? You wrote a bad review. Open the door. And then they have like dogs and. They're going to bash your door down for,
we suspect you're using AI to write your review, and you're going to jail now. Oh,
yeah. Luckily, we don't live in the UK where that's an actual possibility right now. But speaking of which, guys, I want to welcome our fifth panelist, or I should say sixth panelist, to the show. He has finished eating his cereal and is now fully awake. Yes.
Oh.
I
Tom
ain't
Connors
ate no
from Midnight's
cereal
Edge.
yet. Still working on it.
Oh, no cereal
Still
yet?
working.
Oh wait, hang on. I got intro music.
Oh,
You guys gotta wait for a second.
we're waiting
my
with
gosh.
bated breath.
Tom Connors of Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark.
Ooh.
He's got news for you.
That's pretty
Yes,
cool.
indeed.
I like that
Like that.
point.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's very, very smooth. We need some smooth jazz, Tom.
And he's gone.
Yeah. He's like, I'm off to get some cereal. Right.
Cereal. Gotta get
All
my
right.
fiber.
So, Odin, like the interesting thing to me about this article, it's not so much that the government is going to do some consumer protection stuff about fake reviews and AI generated reviews for paid products, but the idea that this could extend to entertainment based reviews, where it's like people are expressing an opinion and they're like, oh, we have to prevent review bombing from AI generated stuff and bots and all these other things. Whereas I would think that would be the responsibility of the actual website that's accepting the reviews. What's your take on this?
I mean, immediately what comes to mind is I think it was Ronald Reagan who had the line about no one ever gets excited about anyone who says something to the effect of, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like some of the scariest words that you can ever actually hear. And that's absolutely what's going on with this too. It's like, oh yes, we're for the government and we're here to shut down fake reviews and AI and review bombing and everything. And we're going to make things better. And all that these types of rules ever do is allow them carte blanche the ability to do anything with it. We think back of just some of the, the worst laws and unfortunately most of the things that have been passed have not even been really laws. It's just been arbitrary rules set by these unelected bureaucrats who ultimately go overboard with their power, and maybe sometimes lawsuits can be brought against them and the court can come in and maybe limit it a bit. I will say the only positive thing that came out of this for me, and at least some bit of excitement about it, is does this mean that Grace Randolph's going to be out of the job?
Oh God, I hope so.
Is she a bot?
Fake reviews, I just
Fake
gotta put
reviews.
it out there. Yeah.
Well,
Well, we found out all the positive Rotten Tomatoes reviews cost us $50. I mean,
Well, speaking of which, Tom, I wanted to ask you this. So, is there, in your opinion, do you think that there is a problem when it comes to entertainment-based reviews for bad reviews? To me, it seems more like the studios would have bot farms putting in fake good reviews for their stuff. So, what's your take on this whole thing?
yeah, I mean, on the surface, the way it's explained, it sounds like something that could help the consumer and other people. But at the end of the day, I'm just sitting here going, okay, so how are they going to use this against us now? Because yeah, it was fine up to a point, and then you get into the review bombing, which I'm still not a proponent of somebody who actually believes that there is such a thing as review bombing, because either way you can have it goes both ways, right? But for some reason they only seem to pay attention to it when it's negative, right? It's never the other way around, where people are bombing stuff with a 10 out of 10 or a 5 out of 5 and such like that. And at the end of the day, I'm more worried about how they're going to use this against us. On the surface, it sounds like it should help us. I get where you're coming from. That makes sense, because you can get stuff on Amazon and they'll pay you to review it, right? Well, that'll put an end to that kind of stuff. But how are they going to figure out who's getting paid for what? Because as we've pointed out many times over, until we had that story about the actual $50 changing hands, it was always kind of a payola thing, we figured, right? It was never something we could actually show any hardcore evidence of. But what we could prove with things like that Christian Harloff, when he flipped out because he didn't get invited to that Star Wars thing at Disney, that's what we're talking about. That's the best we can, show people, is that, look, these people get paid through access and goodies and trips and all this kind of stuff. Sure, they may never actually get money handed to them directly, but we soon found out that may not necessarily be the case. So if that's the case, the government should look into certain things like that. I do think it's illegal, but at the same time, I'm with you, Matt. I don't want the government getting involved any more than they already are with stupid shit. Because then at the end of the day, it usually just means they're going to take some rights away from us, is basically what it means.
And I'm always for more like self-regulation, because like everything that you like, the way that you were wording it actually reminded me a bit about how if you look at a lot of tech reviews, like for phones and stuff, the ones that you trust are the ones who will say straight up front, like, I have been given this phone, but this has not been approved beforehand, because then it's on them to actually say, hey, I'm putting this on the record that I have not been paid for this review, but I'm telling you all the incentives if I've gotten any. There's a great channel, Lon TV, Lon Seidman. He's very much a proponent of people being honest about that. So it's like, I kind of wish that maybe in the movie review space, in the game review space, people could say, hey, by the way, we got free access to this game, or hey, we got an early screening to this, but this does not affect our review. Because at least, even if they're not telling the truth, at least then it's on them to be honest about it. And that's why, like, I'd rather have self-censorship or self-regulation versus the government agencies coming in. If you did have government agencies coming in, I would rather it be something simple as you have to disclose something.
Well, I want to throw this to our AI expert on the panel, Brian.
Hey.
So, Brian, one of the dangers of AI-based reviews is, like, in the past, you basically had to like spin like pre-written spreadsheet stuff to create these like bot army reviews to, and they became kind of obvious, right? Where it's like, oh, like they're just repeating all these reviews repeat the same thing over and over.
Right.
But with AI could conceivably create original looking reviews for any type of product, whether it be a TV show or an actual like paid product, and people could be fooled by it. So what's your take on this?
100%. Someone can write one review that has the message that they're trying to convey, and then use AI to rewrite that review in different words with different framing or whatever. And essentially it's saying the same thing, but it can be said 30 different ways. And then those 30 different ways can be posted by a bot army, and it will be much harder to track for sure. But when it comes to combating the AI, even now, like, still, it's sort of, at least I can tell when something feels like it's AI. It's also really easy to combat. There's a ton of tools out there that will tell you the percentage of possibility that something is AI or isn't. In fact, you can install these on your server before a review gets posted, and if it's above 50%, then it's if it's above 75%, then it's probably AI, and maybe just like kick that back, like this sounds like AI. Try again. It's a very easy fix if you are trying to stop AI bots from posting.
Chat GPT just wrote a real good review for us, like 10 seconds ago.
Oh,
It was,
there
it
you
was
go.
Yeah.
really fast. Yeah, it says Salty Saturday is a must-watch for anyone who loves engaging, witty commentary with a dash of humor. The host brings a fresh perspective to every topic, blending insightful analysis with just the right amount of saltiness to keep things entertaining.
You can tell it's
Well,
AI because none of
Yeah,
that's
you
true.
can tell.
Whether you're looking for deep dives into current events or just some laughs to brighten
That's
your
not
weekend,
real.
Salty Saturday never disappoints. Highly
we
recommended.
know
we
that's
disappoint
bullshit.
often. I don't.
Yeah, all the time.
I will say this much.
We're
though.
often disappointing, so that's
To,
obviously AI.
You're disappointing me right now, as a matter of fact.
To Brian's
Fake
point,
news.
so
Fake news.
in education, we have had a lot of conversations this year, especially in a lot of our professional development about AI and how it's going to this year, especially just be more, relevant than ever before. But also, we're going to actually start to try to integrate certain things into it. And one of the most interesting things was English teachers, who are the ones I think who are best known or best able to kind of decipher between what is actual writing versus what's AI writing. What they've actually said, and what's interesting, is that when it comes to AI detected text services, most of them are actually pretty bunk. And the reason why is because the only way you can ever tell whether like a student, for instance, has used AI is if you're comparing what they've written before versus what they've turned in. Like, is it the kind of language that this specific person would use? Because everything else, it's like, if you're using proper grammar, proper technique, I mean, there are good writers out there who are going to be listed as AI, even though it's not necessarily actually AI that's doing
Yeah,
it.
but if it's longer than a couple paragraphs, you can tell because of how the style changes midway through. Like they use contractions or they don't, or they're where their commas are, where versus not. Like you can tell that it's changing in real time. So you don't need a writing sample. And I know some of those are bunk, but some of the server side tools that I've installed are really legit. I've tested them. I've taken something that I wrote, I ran it through it, and it was a 3% chance of AI. And then I had that rewritten by ChatGPT, ran it through, and it was an 85% chance. Same message, same words, but it was rewritten to a point where it didn't, where it was obviously AI to the tool because the style is changing like in real time as the paragraph is written.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Butters, one of the things that the studios have been dealing with anyway is that oftentimes on their movies or TV shows, they get a very high critics score because the critics are all in the tank. And it's the audience score that actually like kind of reflects the quality of the end product. And with AI generated reviews, these studios can now like basically manipulate the audience score very much Zack Snyder style with AstroTurf bots using AI generated reviews to basically bump up that audience score to something that's not terrible or accurately reflecting of the end product. Do you think that that's a real danger going forward? And should the government step in to regulate it?
What, bot farms? I mean, what are you supposed to do about 100 people in a warehouse in India that are being paid pennies to?
Yeah, with 8,000 phones, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. I don't think.
Yeah, you have them all set up to one
I mean,
little server that's just clicking something.
Yeah, I don't listen, man. I don't know how bot farms work. I don't know anything about this business. We all know that it does happen, but it's ridiculous that it does. It's insane to me that the thought that there's a bunch of people out there, sitting in front of their computers, telling an AI program to write a bunch of fake reviews. It's silly. It's insane. But I guess it kind of works in some aspect though, right?
No, it definitely works. You can control like all of Reddit with a big enough bot net. You know what I mean?
It's like it's totally destroyed any kind of legitimacy some of these rating sites has. No, but we just make fun.
What about checking the box?
Now.
Are you human? I check that box all the time. What, does that not work?
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I failed the pick the box with the motorcycles in it.
Oh my god, that drives me nuts
every time. It's
funny because like
in that box.
Checking the box, are you human, to me seems so little. Like even like my dog can do that, But the one that's like, see all the traffic lights, I'm like, I don't see all the fucking traffic lights. I'm clicking.
It's crazy.
Click
No,
all
it's
the
also
boxes
like-
with stop signs, and I'm like, I click like 4 of them. That's not. I do it like 6 times. I'm like, am I
My-
real? Am I
My other
real?
question is, how do you get recruited or hired on to be some of these people that are supposed to be dropping these fake reviews? I can do that. You pay me enough,
I can do that too,
I'll drop
yeah.
some fake reviews. I'm not proud. I need the money. Whatever, man.
I mean, what's the point? Like, to not get me to go see the movie? Is that,
Sure.
I mean, are you looking at that to determine whether or not you're going to go watch this movie?
That's a good point.
No.
Why would someone pay a botnet to not watch a movie? Like, if you're looking for fake reviews, you should look for the positive ones at most, right? Not the negative ones. So, you know what I learned? People don't tend to like, I sell products on various marketplaces.
Mhm.
I noticed that like getting a rating and a comment is very hard because people that have a good experience rarely go and comment on it, right? But people that have a bad experience really want to go comment. So having a 4 or 5 star product on Amazon is very difficult. And, just getting those initial reviews.
The thing with Amazon is like, how do you rate stuff that you buy? It's like, oh, this t-shirt, it fits 5 stars.
Yeah,
Man, this pair of shoes, pretty comfortable.
this is how you do it, bro.
It's not as comfortable as the last pair of shoes I bought.
You have to beg
So,
your customers.
only 3.5 stars for this pair of
That's
shoes.
what I do. I send mailers, little notes, handwritten notes. I'm like, please do me a
This-
favor and go.
this-
If you like my shirt, go give it a 5-star rating.
Yeah.
I have to beg people, bro. It's crazy.
This hat doesn't fit my giant head.
I will
You're
say
2
that
stars. Yeah, I'm
but
too
you-
fat. I ordered a large and I'm actually a 5X. I'm mad
I'm
about
going
this.
to
1
give
star.
I have to give my parents a 2-star rating because their genetics were fucked up and gave me a giant watermelon-sized head.
And
When I
diabetic.
came out.
when it comes to the negative reviews, though, like why would anyone pay to have negative reviews to not watch a movie? I will say one thing. It could also be, though, that it's just people trying to kind of agitate the space. If you think about how many articles come out when you have these films that are pushing certain agendas getting quote unquote review bombed. Like, again, I don't believe that the whole review bombing thing is even a thing as far as like it's only on one side or anything to that effect. But I do think that one has to still admit that there's a possibility that you could have, foreign actors coming in trying to stir crap up. And
But
we
Odin,
see
why?
that
What
usually
is the
happens.
benefit of spending money on a botnet to put bad reviews? I understand positive reviews get people to actually spend money, but what is the benefit? Like, who is benefiting from negative reviews?
Well, again, if it's a foreign adversary, it's the chaos that could potentially cause because people are ticked off. It's like, oh man, misogyny is running rampant again. Like that's the kind of thing you could see happen.
If I'm running a competing T-shirt business, Brian, I could pay a botnet to just review bomb your stuff with 1-star reviews.
Yeah.
So
I
that my
knew it
stuff
was
looks
you,
better.
Matt. I knew it was
Yeah.
you the whole time.
The
you
whole
son of a-
time, exactly.
Brian's
Uh,
all those Teespring people.
Well, I think a simple solution to this is what Elon has kind of done with X, where it's like, hey, pay money to have a verified account, and then only allow verified accounts to leave reviews or something like that. I know with Amazon they actually have a feature that shows you whether or not the person actually bought the product.
Verified
when they leave a
purchase,
review.
right?
Yep, verified purchase.
Right.
That's
And
another one.
As a seller, you can actually put a thing on there where it only shows reviews from verified purchases.
Yep.
That way you don't get the you don't get any weird, because every once in a while you see reviews on a product where it's like, I loved this toothpaste, and you're like, motherfucker, it's a Bluetooth speaker. Like, what are you talking about? So
All right.
those products you can actually say verified purchases only.
All right, guys, real quick, we got the Beast 808 who gifted 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships, helping us to hit our goal. Thank you so much, the Beast. Really appreciate that. And not to be left out, the queen of gifted memberships herself, Jillian N, gifting 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships, bringing us up to 15
Wow.
for the live stream so
That's awesome.
far. And she also helped us to get one more towards our goal, $5 from Jillian N. You guys are wonderful, and you never disappoint. Thank you, Jillian. We
Very
appreciate
nice.
you.
Talk to
but
our wives.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we do disappoint a lot,
All the time.
all the time.
Yes.
Like I've been disappointed
Talk
at
to
least
my
five
child.
times during this live stream. So, but guys, speaking of Elon and Twitter and all that stuff, guys, they broke the internet this past week. Trump and Musk did a live Twitter Spaces, and Trump's Musk, yeah, and basically it destroyed stuff on the internet. It was really well done. I was actually sitting there live as it was going on, listening to it. There were 1 million people in that Spaces.
Wild.
But it was absolutely crazy. But before we get into this, I want to throw it to Brian, because Brian, Twitter actually suffered a denial of services attack, a DDoS attack, leading up to the Spaces. And they're ever since they've been taking a victory lap about how well the Spaces went off. A lot of people on Twitter have been going on there and saying like, "Oh, it's fake, it's phony, blah blah blah." But you had a really good explanation about why the DDoS attack was actually legitimate and why it didn't bring down all of Twitter. So can you kind of reiterate what you talked about before we get into the nitty gritty of this article?
Sure. Yeah. A DDoS attack is basically when I'm going to, in as simple terms as possible. And by the way, you could do this on your computer right now. You can open up a command prompt and say ping, and then type in this stream, right? Ping this stream link, and it will ping this stream link with packets of data, right? So what a DDoS does is it has, let's say a botnet, 1,000 computers or 1,000 clients or 1,000 phones or whatever, and they ping the same URL or the same IP. And what it does is it sends a bunch of packets to this one server IP, and it overwhelms that server, and that server gets really slow, and it starts kicking out legitimate users. Well, that link is probably using something called a subnet, which is actually a range of IPs, because you cannot host 1 million people on one server. Sorry to say. So it probably has a range of IPs. Like maybe there's 150 servers running this one Spaces. And so that link, if you ping that link, it'll ping that range of IPs. And if you use a big enough botnet, it will actually slow that link down. And all of Twitter won't go down, because Twitter, I actually looked it up. Twitter is over 500,000 different servers. So in order to take down Twitter or X, you would need a lot more servers than they have servers in order to overwhelm them. So you ping that with a botnet, or a couple botnets, and it slows them down because it utilizes resources. So it tracks that as having all these hits in a very tiny amount of time. The servers suffer. All their memory is used up, and they can no longer host the Spaces. That's how it works. So people saying a DDoS attack doesn't work that way, Twitter was fine. Clearly, they have no idea how DDoS attacks works.
Yeah. So basically, the fact that X was able to recover from this DDoS attack and go on to do this live stream was very, very impressive, I guess you could say.
They probably. You know what they did? If I had to guess, let's say they had 150 servers. Elon was like, throw 500 servers at it, and they just add so many servers that the botnet is not big enough to eat up enough resources. And then when the botnet leaves, they can shrink the server size again.
Yeah. Well, Dutch, Mr. Butters, before the Spaces happened, one of the guys who runs the European Union sent a very threatening letter to Elon Musk saying that, if you do this on your Spaces, the European Union will come after X and try to shut you down.
Oh, no.
And Elon posted this, where he said, "To be honest, I really wanted to respond to this Tropic Thunder meme, but I would never do something so rude and irresponsible."
I love
and this is Les Grossman that's with the meme that says, "Take a big step back and literally fuck your own face." And this was all leading up to like the big scheduled live stream, which I think that this guy releasing this threat and then Elon's response created way more buzz for this thing than it might normally have had.
Sure.
I mean the buzz was already off the charts, but what do you think about like European countries trying to shut down a private entity's interview with a leading presidential candidate?
I think they need to mind their own business, I guess. Twitter is an international thing, right? I mean, you can use it anywhere on the planet. but it is definitely an American-based company, and they've got to let Elon do his thing. I mean, it's I don't see any of us going over to like the UK elections and going, "Hey man, you guys better mind your shit, or we're gonna be upset if Farage over there, says something."
We kicked their ass 250 years ago, so we didn't have to take that.
That's right.
Better to get together, UK. We got a problem with you, bro.
Shut up, Frenchie. We don't care about what you have
Drives
to
me
say.
nuts. Like we're gonna sue these Americans for using free speech in America.
Right.
Are you fucking kidding me?
The only other meme I think he could have put up was maybe that one of like Razor Ramon in the WWE going, ooh, that would have been a funny one too.
The Tropic Thunder one was so perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect because what's funny? Because when we read that, we all thought that meme before we saw it.
Oh yeah. Just shut up. Yeah, it's like it's really funny. Elon is so he has a toy that he's just fucking with everybody with. It's really amusing and funny to me how he's just taken to this. And what else do you say? I mean, he's I think he's purposely agitating people to push the whole free speech thing. That's what I think he's doing. And
it's good.
I think
do it more
and do it more. It's working. It's making. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about it right now. He's making news all over the place with the things that he says, and the little just he posts a meme here and there to get people's nipples all twisted up. It's really funny, and it is what it is, man. I hope
I sent
it
that
just
to my
makes
brother.
me want to do more mean tweets. Actually,
yeah.
I sent that to my brother, that link when he posted it, and he goes, and he was like, I'm 50 years old, and I never thought I would ever have another hero, but Elon's my hero.
Yeah. And the thing is, he's, the thing I like about Elon, though, I mean, he's a Trump supporter. But he's extended the olive branch out to Kamala. So he goes, hey man, you can come on Twitter. I'll talk with you for 2 hours too. So is the guy from the European Union going to write him another nasty letter if Kamala comes on there? It's just like, I don't think that's going to happen. So
I love watching leftists though, like, oh, but you better watch out. This guy means serious business. Like, and what? What
big deal?
Yeah, who cares? Like that one XY person that Olympics was like, I'm suing Elon and the Harry Potter J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
For like, okay, and like, okay, win a judgment, and what? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna collect? Like honestly, what are you gonna do? You're gonna come to America and try to get money from Elon? Elon's gonna tell you to F off. Mm-hmm. Okay, get a judgment in.
No, what they'll do is they'll try to blame, or they'll try to block X in whatever countries, but all they'll do is just make sales of VPNs go up.
Yeah, just F off. I mean, honestly, unless X gets blocked in America, you're probably fine. Honestly, I'm sorry to say, no one cares about your shitty little country. I'm sorry.
Yep. The leader of Liechtenstein is writing somebody a nastily worded letter.
Yeah. All right, bro. Good luck.
Well, who might care is Smitty over here. Smitty, I want to ask you. So, like, X/Twitter Twix has struggled with video stuff, even though they keep trying to push it and adopt it, and they've taken on this very annoying thing where when a video stops playing, it just switches to another video, and you're just like, come on, dude, stop. But one thing that they've had tremendous success with are the audio end of things, particularly these spaces. And they're basically just like voice chat rooms, right? But a lot of people have really adopted this technology, especially now that what was that one service that was all audio based? I forget what, but it's basically dead now. But Twitter /X has kind of moved into that space, and we've seen here in the States, like Ron DeSantis launched his failed presidential bid on Twitter Space that had numerous technical issues and stuff like that. But these things are getting to be super popular, and we've used them here on the Salty Nerd podcast, kind of live stream our recording sessions and stuff like that. So there's a lot of use case scenarios here. But this is the first time that this feature on X has really been used to like great publicity. Like, I'm sure a lot of people didn't know that Twitter had this feature until all the news articles about him and Trump using it hit. What do you think about the adoption of basically like a talk radio feature on this social media platform that brought 1 million concurrent listeners to a conversation with one of the presidential candidates?
I think it did what it was supposed to do. I mean, the hope is you're just trying to reach more people, and you reached over 1 million people, then congratulations. I mean, I don't see how that could be a problem, you know? I mean, it's not gonna hurt anything, right? It's not hurting or deciding, you know, who's gonna do what. No one's gonna like, oh, I found this. This is gonna totally change my mind about whatever it was I was thinking before, you know? So, I mean, if it helps you reach more people, then I'm all for it. You know, I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, because I sat there, I listened to the whole thing. It was 2 hours of just two dudes talking. It just so happens to be two extremely rich dudes and two extremely powerful and influential dudes. But you know, we get such a filtered look at what this presidential candidate has to say through the mainstream media that it was kind of refreshing to be able to sit there in a long format and just listen to him kind of like talk for like 2 hours, as opposed to like, you know, having to hear these manipulative sound bites through the mainstream media. I want to throw this to Tom because Tom, Elon Musk came out and said that the Twitter space basically accounted for about 1 billion engagements, and basically, you know, views are counted in that. I think he said that it was up to 73 million views. I don't know how X counts a view. It could just be people scrolling past it in their timeline. But regardless, if that's the case, millions of people did eventually hear at least a portion of this talk. But in addition to that, they're counting all like the posts that it generated. So people commenting during the spaces, people kind of like tweeting about it afterwards. And that has that type of reach is pretty effective. And so basically 1 billion pieces of content were generated out there to users of the X platform because of this one space. What type of effect do you think that's going to have, not just on the political landscape, but also on social media in general?
Well, I was told there wouldn't be math today. But no, like overall, I mean, that's the thing, is they are freaking out right now because X is the one place they can't regulate, they can't shut down, they can't manipulate, and by they I mean the other side of the equation here, the aisle here, especially the parts that own the media, right? Like that's the thing. That's what scares them. X is not owned by anybody but basically Elon Musk, and at this point he has allowed basically free speech. Now there has been some limitations, right? I'm not saying it's perfect. There's even been some situations where like Paul Chatto, as far as I'm concerned, shouldn't have been pushed off of X for what he was doing and saying that day, but that's neither here nor there. There's going to be times where things don't always work out the way we want them to, and you can't have absolute free speech on something like this because yes, there is an amount of responsibility that comes, you know, with the ability to go screaming fire, you know, to use an analogy. So in that case, at the end of the day, I think it's a good thing to have something like X because we have the alternative now to the access media.
Well, Odin, are you there, or are you still pooping? I know it's
Make it awkward by doing.
He's
it,
like,
man.
give me 5 more minutes.
no, it was his son that had to poop that he had to run off to. But Tom, you do bring up a good point about like the whole freedom of speech thing, because there are other countries out there, not just like the UK, but also like Brazil in particular, who've been really fighting against X's ability to disseminate information in an unfiltered way. And at every point, Elon has basically just told them to go F themselves. And the idea that X is like probably the top social media platform for real-time news, not just news, but also like accurate and unfiltered news, is definitely like something that has affected the other platforms out there, because like, Facebook famously is like censoring the crap out of stuff still. And when Elon first took over, a lot of people were like, "Oh, this platform is going to fail now because of the rise of hate speech or whatever." But the fact that Elon has stuck to his guns, more and more people are flocking to X, it seems, simply because they can actually get accurate real-time information there, as opposed to all the other platforms where Meta is basically saying, like, we don't want political content on our platform, so we're actively censoring it. So they're moving their user base to X, and
Isn't that
I
the
think
exact opposite of what they did in the last election cycle? I mean,
they censored stuff in the last election cycle too,
but in the opposite direction, right? Now they're just like, we don't want nothing to do with politics, so we're going to make it harder for political stuff to come through. And the last time it was like they were just drowning us all with stuff that only they approved. It seems very strange. But anyway.
Well, I mean, the last time that we had a presidential election, these platforms actively banned and censored one of the leading presidential candidates. In fact, the sitting president at the time.
The sitting president. That's insane. Right. Yeah. This is the first time this is the first election in, I mean, if ever, for the internet, that where there's an actual free speech platform that is not going to, silence or modify or control the narrative that's coming out. And that X is the first time we're actually going to see real-time information that's not on some like dark web website or whatever, but like a popular top 5 website where we're going to see real-time information, real-time reactions, and real-time opinions to everything happening. It's actually fascinating to witness.
Yeah, and what's crazy, Brian, is that if you go on Twitter now, all these things 3.5 years later, where people were talking about shenanigans in the 2020 election, there's like, oh, there's no proof. There's no proof. Now 3.5 later, there's all this proof that's coming out, and it's coming out on X, and people are getting to actually like see. It's like, oh, this battleground county had 87,000 dead people on their voter rolls that somehow magically voted.
Yeah.
These had 11,000 people who all had the exact same address who somehow voted. These had concurrent serial numbers, which never happens. It's very interesting, like the difference that having just one free speech platform has really done for the discourse in this country, where it's like the mainstream media can't lie to you without some type of pushback, at least.
Yeah. You know what drives me nuts when people go, well, when people debunk a problem, they go, oh, that was this, it was normal, whatever, natural, and they go, see, you're spreading misinformation because this was a normal thing and you're just incorrect. Like, okay, cool. But what's the problem with us asking this question? Like, if election fraud is a big deal, if you silence millions and millions of people, then it should be investigated. And if someone brings up a point that isn't valid and isn't wrong, cool, all right, cool, thanks. But we should not be able to ask the question. Of course, yes. You know what? Why are people putting up boards over windows and not letting watchers to actually see inside a room? I want to know the answer to that. And if there's a real answer, great, give it to me. But don't tell me I can't ask the question. Come on.
I want to know how Dominion voting machines that aren't connected to the internet were affected by the CrowdStrike update that crashed every computer system on the network across the country.
If there's a reasonable answer, then fine, give it to me. But don't not allow me to ask the question when there's a serious question. These are millions and millions and millions of people voted for this person, right? You cannot silence them and take away their power. And then when someone asks why something is happening that's fishy, be like, oh, you're not allowed to ask that question? F you, bro. If there's a real answer, give it to me. If not, then we need to talk. We need to look into it, investigate it. Dominion, there's some sus things going on with Dominion. Not sure why we're still using their stuff. That's very odd to me. A lot of things in that election were very sus. And if there's a legitimate reasons for it, great. Share them with me. But don't be like, don't completely shut me down because I'm asking why people are bringing wagons full of ballots into the counting room at 3 a.m.
Yo, man, I just found these sitting on the side of the road.
Yeah, just randomly here, no big deal.
Here we go.
I want, but tell me why. Why are they there?
I really hope you're not referring to the thing about the ones that were under the table.
Why is
That's been
Brian yelling?
disproven.
I don't know.
That's what he does.
It
By the way,
just
everyone,
drives me nuts. People are like, "Oh, you're an election day." I'm like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying answer the question. Why are people pulling out boxes after counting it's officially stopped? The Republicans left, but there's still Democrats there, and people are
You
coming
want
in.
the truth? You can't handle the truth.
People are coming in at 3 in the morning with
by
red
the way,
wagons full of ballots.
guys,
We're not
People are
guys,
yelling. I'm
guys,
just trying to add in.
yeah, hold on, guys.
We're not
Before
asking
we
our
get to Odin, I just want to let everyone know that we're fully aware that we're not going to be monetized on this live stream. So be sure to help us hit our goal of 20 super chats and memberships and all that stuff. Really appreciate you guys. Odin, one of the big things that came out of this Twitter space, though, that everyone's kind of like not paying attention to is Trump came back to Twitter. Like he's reinvigorated his Twitter account that he used to use. And in fact, I'd argue it was one of the big factors as to why he won in 2016. But now that he's got Truth Social, everyone was like, oh, he's going to stay over there. But this space also marked his return to Twitter. Now, like, he's actually tweeting stuff. And this is helping to kind of like get his message out. Like I've seen him repost an entire clip of Kamala Harris talking about how bad everything got under the Biden administration, just uncut, unedited. And then at the end, it's like, this message is brought to you by Donald Trump. And he just like, gives a thumb up.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the implications of Trump returning to a platform like X?
Oh, I mean, I think that it is first, it's a good move on his part, just socially, politically, because at the end of the day, no one in like when you look at actual numbers, no one is really going to be and is using Truth Social other than people already voting for him already in his space. So him already having isolated himself on that platform was already a big mistake. So I think him now branching back and reusing Twitter X is just objectively a good decision on his part. And it's also kind of going back to the success that he found in previous years. And so, yeah, I think that it's a good sign for that. But it is interesting because one of the reasons as to why he was exclusively using Truth was to try to boost that platform. So part of me kind of wonders if maybe his calculation was, okay, I've already boosted this platform as much as it could. There are now more mainstream persons joining it, including alternate campaigns that are not a part of that. So I think that he probably thought, okay, I really need to start shifting things. This, Twitter was a big part of how I was able to grow an audience, how I was able to especially drive a lot of younger voters that typically may not be as politically engaged. I think that that's probably going to be something that he is going to be able to utilize again with all the other things that have been going on with it. But kind of going back to the point that was made previously, I do think that it is a mistake if anyone tries to go after that line. Again, I'm not saying that there's not anything there. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be investigated, but I think that it's a mistake to go after the Dominion stuff and a lot of the, things that really did seem shady, because some of those things have been debunked and people still run with them, like the ballots underneath the table and stuff like that. But what we need to really focus on instead is, okay, how is it that you had states changing their laws without following their own state laws? That to me is the much bigger issue,
100%.
because it also helps to explain a lot of the numbers that we were seeing, as far as, again, it's easy for you to be able to go into a huge block in a city and get a bunch of people to fill something out and collect it. Right. That's why a lot of times Democrats can do that. They can drive their campaigns and drive the numbers up because they can just do that so easily. When you're dealing with a lot of Republican voters, more traditional ones, it's usually much more rural. So it's a lot harder to get the same number of votes, because you have to cover more area to actually do that. Mm-hmm. So the focus should really just be on what are the actual laws. Are those laws actually being changed? I think that, for instance, I'm very intrigued by what's going to happen in Virginia, because they changed their law to be able to have it be where it's like, I think it's paper ballots only. So I think that's going to make it interesting to see if that has any impact on their overall numbers. But that's where the focus honestly should be, instead of on a lot of this other stuff that, again, is either in some case impossible to know or has been debunked completely, or is at the point now, because of all that other stuff that is there, even if there is truth there, it's going to end up pushing people, especially more independent minds, away.
I will have to push back a little bit on you, Odin, because the ballots under the table thing, I know that it says it's been debunked, but it hasn't been debunked. Like there's a lot of shady stuff that's going on with that.
Yeah,
particular
which one
thing.
of those? There was like six of those.
It was in Georgia.
Yeah.
But I remember the day that that Giuliani showed that video, and there was a Democrat state assembly member there who said this video has already been debunked, and Giuliani was like, "What do you mean? This is the first time anyone's seeing it?" And that was after they had to get all the people out of all the election watchers out of there because a water main broke. So So there's a lot of stuff there that
only the Republican watchers.
even though they had a excuse for why those ballots were under the table, and the Republican governor and Secretary of State accepted the official excuse for that, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's actually what happened. But we've seen that the whole election was stolen to type of narrative doesn't really resonate with a lot of independent voters, and so
it's a losing battle.
Yeah,
you're going to push more people away. Again, would you rather find out something that might, and again, really have no actual again, we might have evidence, doesn't mean that we have proof, right? I think that
you're 100% right, but we can't allow the same things to happen
pushing
again.
People away. Because, and again, I always say, I always like today's video here, I come from a very politically independent perspective on this because, again, I am registered independent. I am a Catholic. That is where my values align first with anything else. That's what I judge any candidate on, regardless of the letter next to their name. But for me, I know that this is a very, very unpopular issue. And so that's why I think you could have a much better discussion with somebody of, hey, did you know that they changed their laws and acted against their own constitution? You would actually be able to be like, oh, that's actually kind of interesting that they're doing that, versus oh, did you see this video? Because in the age of AI especially, people are just not going to be as willing to believe things.
I also think that it's interesting that about a couple months out from the next presidential election, we're getting all these reports about how the conspiracy theories of the stolen election in 2020 have been proven true. For the most part, and the question now becomes, it's how secure are our actual elections? Because if you guys remember, the Venezuela just had their quote unquote elections, right? And Maduro cheating, and it's been verified that he did cheat. The graphs of the late night counting where he goes up and over the opponent, it's the exact same graph that Biden had in 2020. And so it's so obvious to so many people that that election had shenanigans going on with it, that I think it's almost irresponsible to not point it out. But at the same time, I get where you're coming from, Odin, because people have proven whether you think it was stolen or not, most people are I don't want to hear about that. It's old news. Let's move forward.
These same people were also turning around and claiming the same thing 8 years ago. Remember that? Mm-hmm. See, that's the problem we have. And that, I would say, is probably a better way to combat this crap than anything else. Instead of talking about it or trying to prove one way or the other, is just show that they were saying the same thing 8 years ago. Right? Just that's about all you can do. Unfortunately, we have so much cognitive dissonance on both sides of the equation, on both ends. Yes, granted, it's more so on one side. I'm not going to disagree with you there. But it is. It's such a polarized place we're at right now that I don't think anybody's going to believe anything you say if you're of their opposing side right now. They just won't. Nothing you say is going to change their mind. Nothing you say is going to make a difference. No proof is going to change anything. At this point, until we get to November and shit hits the fan, we're not going to be able to get past any of this stuff. And I think they're going to try and squeeze and tighten as much as they can. And things like Elon having X and Robot Boy saying that he's not going to suppress stuff over on Facebook, which is more proof of what you guys were saying earlier. At this point, I think we actually have a fighting chance this time out. That's about all I can say. But other than that, we're just going to have to keep showing them that they did the same damn thing or worse. That's
I agree. I agree with you, and I agree with Odin. There's only one thing though. It's old news, whatever, cool. But the reason it should be brought up is because we cannot allow it to happen again. That is the issue I have, is that we are coming into an election again. All of a sudden, monkeypox getting real popular. People are starting to advertise mail-in ballots again. Whoa, hold up. We've seen this movie already, dude. Are we going to let it go through again the same way? That's what drives me nuts. We cannot allow the same injustice to happen. Yeah, it's done. Okay, cool. Fuck it, whatever. Okay, are we going to allow it to happen again? And at what point do you just fucking give up and be like, all right, so it's going to happen no matter what anyone does? All right, fuck it. All right, I'm done.
And that's why there's two things. One, you do have people approaching it differently this time because now you have more than I'd ever heard of people signing up to be election watchers, poll watchers. Like, again, I think you're going to have a lot more eyes on this election than ever before. So you are going to already have something very different this time around in that way. And then two, you also have to keep an eye on the laws. And again, it really comes down to that, right? Again, Virginia having that law changed where it's a paper ballots. That's going to be interesting to see. Okay, what does it impact as far as their total votes versus previous years and just the overall totals from certain areas? Like that would be, to me, something to focus on more. Is Pennsylvania or Wisconsin, Michigan, like these very contested states, going to try to push certain things that happened in 2020 when there is not really the justification for it this time around? So to me, it's, again, that's where the focus should be. And
how do you stop that though? Like they set up laws that are, they set up illegal things before an election, and well, you can stop it, but you can't stop it until 6 months after the election when the problem's already been solidified.
And that's why the only thing you can really do at this point is just the fact, because of how contentious it was, is honestly just, again, if it seems like something was done unconstitutionally as far as state law is concerned, get those court cases running now. Again, you might have those same judges making the same decisions, but you might have some that are a bit more brave this time around too, because of just how crazy things got.
Real quick, Odin, I just want to clarify that in Virginia, it was an executive order from the governor. They didn't actually change the law. It was coming from an executive order, but that begs the question, it's like, why aren't more governors issuing these executive orders, for election integrity? But before we move on, Smitty, anything you want to add to the conversation before we change topics?
Yeah, I agree with whoever said it. I forget. It does not matter how much proof. If proof was sitting right there on the table in front of you, you're still going to believe what you want to believe, right? Somebody says a thing at a podium, and all of a sudden it's a thing. People just start running with it. Oh, it's a thing. We got this over here, and this. Here's evidence right here, but I'll show it to you on 2 months from now for this amount of money. Listen, I'm not here to.
That's true.
I'm not here to try to point out and say anybody's wrong. People have their own reasons for doing the things that they do, right? I could care less about millionaires. I don't give a shit, right? I care about if my family can eat, if your family can eat, the regular American being taxed all to hell, and not really having any having to work 2 jobs so they can support themselves. Trump's problems are not my problems. Kamala's problems are not my problems. I do not care, right? This has to get fixed, and I don't care who fixes it. The person that fixes it gets my vote. So,
Well, what's funny is that one of the people running at the top of their party literally oversaw the part that broke it, and then she's saying like, "Oh, you elect me, now I'll fix it." After
you're already in office. Okay,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I couldn't even control myself there.
All right, guys, real quick. Old Man Rising for $5, getting us closer to that target. Hey, ho, ho. KK has got to go. Hey,
ho, ho.
Ho, ho.
Ho, ho.
Don't need AI to know the Acolyte was a crap show. Very true.
Old Man Rising. He's just going to make us talk about Star Wars. He's trying to goad us into it. And
yes, indeed.
I'm not falling for your tricks.
Eric Winberg for 1 Salty Nerd Podcast gifted membership. Thank you so much, Eric.
Nice.
And member chat for 7 months from Darth Maul's lower half. Believe me, that letter was not based on the will of the people in Europe. European politicians and media are only parroting what comes from CNN. Well, CNN should be banned then, in my opinion. All right. You fucked that. What? For $1.99. Trump hire Tulsi Gabbard. Yes.
Well, that's not how it's typed.
Tulsi Gabbard is so hot.
It says Trump hired Tulsi Gabbard. It doesn't say Trump hired Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah. You're just saying it. Because,
you're really being racist.
From now on, let Dutch do those because he does a really good accent.
Hey, Tulsi Gabbard is super hot. Also a Democrat. Isn't it weird that I actually like a Democrat? Because Tulsi Gabbard's hot.
Tulsi Gabbard's she's hot, dude.
I think she's technically independent now.
She's got that.
Did you catch that Freudian slip?
Yeah, she's got the robe. The robe. Yeah. Oh, she's so hot, bro. It's good. And every time it's here, I'm just like blown away at how I'm really into Tulsi Gabbard.
Now for the adult to step in, I think this is a good move. I think this is a good move on his part, because if he can have the same line of attack that she did in the primary debate that she destroyed Kamala in, that would be amazing to see.
Can I just get a bumper sticker that says Tulsi?
Yes. Oh, Tulsi.
That's what I want to do. That's
Goodness gracious, girl, what'd you do?
2028.
Honestly, that streak really adds it adds points to it because I grew up watching the X-Men and Rogue and all that, so I'm like, ooh, that streak.
All right,
nerd card right there.
all right, guys. Mr. Tickle Trunk has gifted 5 Salty Nerd Podcast memberships. Thank you so much, Mr. Tickle Trunk. Really appreciate that. And our most consistent donator is back, Mexican Iron Man, for $10. I am suing Brian for hate speech, suing Odin for going to the bathroom, suing Butters for changing his name from Vader, and I am suing Tom for never having his camera on, and Kadish for no pronouns.
Uh-oh.
Smitty, you're safe.
You
You're
know
safe.
you can't sue me. I have no money.
It's not hate speech, bro. You do have monkeypox. It's not my fault.
Yeah, don't.
Correction. I wasn't going to the
dead name me.
bathroom. My toddler was. He is at the age though where he still needs assistance.
I'm upset. He's dead naming me on live YouTube.
Yeah, Mexican Iron Man, I think you need to go back to your bunker and just wait it out until the election is over. Then all your survivalist skills will come in handy.
Mhm.
All right, Marks 47 for $3.45 for having the balls to let Brian talk about the 2020 election. Yes. No other live stream has the balls to let Brian go loose on election 2020.
I told you, man.
And Mr. Anderson for $5. T for toes.
Nice.
Yes, everyone in the chat. T for toes. Mr. Butters will wiggle his little piggies in the camera for you. And you fucked that for another $1.99. They trying to scare us with Mpox. Wear a condom.
Wow.
Yes. Does anyone know what Mpox actually is?
Monkeypox.
Seriously,
Yeah,
you don't know what it is?
No, I know what it is, but I'm asking someone on the panel to explain it.
I have no idea.
When you put your dingling in some other dude's butt, you get monkeypox.
That's how it works.
There you go. That's exactly how it works. Thank you.
That's the Google
But
explanation.
why are dogs getting monkeypox? That's weird.
Well, and there's worse than that, but yeah, we'll leave that.
I decided to go with the least of the evils.
Yeah.
And also, Ryan, for 20 euros, thank you so much. Heard Hollywood is going to reboot another of our childhood cherished IPs that nobody asked for, The Never-Ending Story. WTF? Anyone want to guess what how they'll F this up? Yeah, I mean, it's an IP that's just sitting there. I don't think anyone's thought about The Never-Ending Story since the 80s.
All I can say is turn around, look at what you see. You have the movie on your shelf already. The Never-Ending Story.
They just better, They just better not screw that song up. The song is fire, man. It's good music. It's good.
One of the best parts of that season of Stranger Things.
All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit about Hollywood going super political. I know that this isn't like a big, like surprise to anyone who pays attention. But what's interesting about this is that Variety basically had this really stupid article. I don't know if you guys read it. I sent it to y'all. But basically, it talks about how Hollywood talent agencies are actually kind of brokering deals between their clients and political consultants to get in on the political season action. So like they want them booked at these like live talking events like, Kamala rallies so they can perform, like musical numbers and stuff like that, put on their own fundraisers like George Clooney did, and so on and so forth. And basically like, Hollywood talent agencies are essentially pimping out their clients for political reasons. And this piece in Variety was just like, one stupid moronic thing after another. I don't even know like where to start with it. But essentially it's all about the money. Like they don't care about the politics behind it, but they see that amongst the Hollywood elite, the anti-Trump thing is a money maker. So like they're, telling their clients, hey, campaign for Kamala and we can get you a ton of gigs. Right? Because Kamala has that huge war chest and she's more than happy to start making it rain for some of these Hollywood celebrities that nobody really cares about. So I wanted to get the panel's take on this. Let's start with Smitty. Smitty, what do you think about celebrity culture and how they're basically in the bag for just one side of the political aisle?
I think it's dangerous. I me myself, I don't particularly like it. I think it's dangerous. I think it sets a bad precedent, and yeah, I just don't think it has any place in entertainment with how divided people are right now, and how like the smallest thing could have you at your neighbor's throat, just ready to fight over people you don't even know.
Yeah,
it's just it just feels like, less would be more at this point. Just stop talking about that and ask people about their families and, how are you doing, instead of who do you like in all of this political stuff. It's just, I don't know. It's dangerous, and it's just pushing towards a more dangerous place, I think, in my opinion.
From the film Civil War this year, what's the one most well-known quotes from that? What kind of American are you?
American are you? Yeah, indeed.
American are you?
I still haven't seen it.
It's good.
Good.
I
Is
like
it good? I know I can rent it on streaming now, so I think I might check it out.
It's okay.
No,
it's not
it's
the
not
epic
good.
movie that the trailer says it is. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's not good. And to me, it was very irresponsible, right? In the words of Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park. Yeah, you could, but they never stopped to think if they should. It's the same thing.
Indeed.
It was basically about reporters traveling the back roads of America or whatever. I don't know.
Tom Connors Jr. It's no surprise that Hollywood representation likes to pimp people, their clients out to the highest bidder. But it seems to me that this one in particular, like you have reports of celebrities hiring their own political consultants to have maximum effectiveness with their fundraisers and stuff like that, and currying political favor with the future possible leader of the free world. What do you think about Hollywood's kind of like renewed focus? Because it used to be celebrities would just be like a general get out the vote. They wouldn't necessarily come out and give like a hard endorsement because they looked at it as bad for their career to alienate people. But that seems to have gone by the wayside. And now it's just like, hey, we're in the tank for this one political party and we want you to vote for them, even if it's against your better interest or judgment.
Yeah, no, and you kind of answered my question, right? Or answered your own question, right? In the question itself. The slippery slope started in the 90s when they decided to get a bunch of people that were celebrities in the Rock the Vote campaign and all that business.
Yeah.
Then Rock the Vote slowly turned into Rock the Vote for the left and only the left. And then Rock the Vote turned into Rock the Vote for the left and only the left. And if you don't, you're a bigot and a racist and an istophobe. And all these other labels. And, and we're going to see the same thing this time around with, Kamala being the nominee. They're going to try to throw that stuff at us as much as possible. But yeah,
that was really huge, like back in MTV back in the day.
It was.
I remember guys like Kid Rock and stuff, like Rock the Vote.
Even before that, right? Like it started in the earlier 90s, because the whole point was back then, after the Reagan era, Bush era, like voting among the young was way down.
Yeah.
Right? Like the average age of the voter, I think at that time was like 35. Right?
I think they should like make it so you can't vote until you're 40 anyway.
Well, and now that I'm older, I realize I was a stupid kid back then and I shouldn't have had any reason or rhyme to be voting.
18-year-olds are too
I say unless
stupid.
you're in the military, you shouldn't be allowed to vote until you're 21 or you pay any kind of income tax or something like that.
I like that. That's a
I'm
great
getting to
idea.
this point because
when I was 18, I was an idiot.
Look, you cannot vote.
Like
you can
mentally
only vote-
challenged retard.
You can only vote if you're over 40, pay taxes, and own property. I think that's
or have done military service
and have that
or
vote
military
guys.
service.
Yeah.
No women should be able to vote either. I think that's
I think if you go through the military,
I like that.
I completely agree.
Well, motherless children shouldn't be able to vote. There, I fucking said it.
there you
Just
go.
kidding. I'm kidding.
I like it.
I don't agree with any of that. So
I was kidding on the last thing, but yeah.
How do I turn my camera off?
Well, I want to ask. I want to throw this to Odin because Odin works with the youth of America, the future voters, and a big part of this story is that basically Hollywood justifies themselves by saying that celebrities have big sway over like the younger generations, and not just younger generations, but also people who are basically ignorant and don't care about politics. They're like, a endorsement from a celebrity that people like can really like swing, stuff in favor, because people who don't pay attention to this stuff or people who are young and naive who don't really care about it, Like they'll just be like, oh, Taylor Swift, wants likes this person, I'll vote for them. So what's your take on the manipulation of the youth and ignorant vote, Odin?
I mean, I just don't think it's as effective as they think. It's the same people that would also argue, oh, because this actor is in this movie, it's going to automatically do well. And it's like, no, that's not how movies work anymore. The era of the star has been long gone. It's about, okay, who is in a specific kind of movie and is it being marketed well? Like, so for instance, we look at Deadpool Wolverine. Big selling point, of course, is Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, but it's because they're in those specific roles, right? Just because the actors themselves are in a movie together doesn't automatically sell those tickets. You got to give people a reason. The same thing also, I think, is going to be the case with voting. And when you have these, so-called stars, right, who only themselves actually appeal to older people. Like, it's again, I think about, okay, Mark Ruffalo, I'm sorry, that guy's not appealing to the youth. You got George Clooney, he's not appealing to the youth. Sean Astin, I mean, all these people that are on
I think
the
the
Zoom
difference
call,
is now you have influencers instead of movie stars, right?
Yeah,
So,
and even then, right, it's very limiting. So, for instance, the ones I could think of are people like, as idiotic as he is, are people like Destiny, right, where he is trying to really twist the minds of younger people, right, to have his very warped worldview. And that's why he might be able to influence some of those people that actually buy into his worldview. And there might be other streamers from all different political parts of the spectrum that might be able to have some similar ones that they might. But we're talking about minuscule numbers in those instances. And so that's why it's just, honestly, it drives me crazy that so much money. I just saw an article about how the Harris campaign is going to be putting $350 million into ads and such after Labor Day. And I can't just fathom, and I know that there's always millions upon millions, $100 billion put into these campaigns, but just to see like that single number of $350 million being put into a political campaign, it's disgusting. And I think that, honestly, this is the reason why you also have so many people that just don't care about either side, because it's just become so toxic, so fake in so many ways that people are just like, I'm done with it. Just go away.
I'm still trying to figure out how Kamala Harris is even in this position. She's the vice president.
Yeah.
She Biden didn't die.
Yeah, she didn't. Yeah, exactly. And
just
no
because,
one.
And just because he drops out, that doesn't automatically make her the presumptive nominee. Nobody voted for this bitch.
No one voted for her.
Nobody voted for her in any primaries to put her in that position. I don't understand.
But the argument's like, well, Democrats can put whoever they want up. They don't have voted for her.
At the convention they can, but they haven't even had their convention yet.
Yeah, they're going
to.
So
it's very strange how this has all gone down to me. It's very weird.
Very weird.
Not a single registered Democrat in the country has checked a box with Kamala's name on it to make her the presidential nominee for.
But she is, and Destiny is mentally retarded. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Well, Dutch. So speaking of Kamala Harris, since President Biden, quote unquote, handed her the baton on July 21st, Harris has relied on star power to build a sense of energy and momentum around her campaign. Right off the bat, Beyonce gave her the rights to her song Freedom, and Megan Thee Stallion performed at a massive rally in Atlanta on July 30th. However, former President Trump took note, saying at his August 3rd rally that Harris was only able to pack the arena because she had entertainers supporting her. He says, and I quote, "I don't need entertainers. I fill the stadium because I'm making America great again. That's our entertainment." And then they go on to say, Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan both appeared at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. It's kind of like saying like because these two people appeared at the Republican National Convention, what Trump just said about not needing them to like fill an arena is automatically like invalid.
But the thing is, he's filling arenas without Kid Rock there. Already.
Yeah. So like I wanted to ask you, what's the difference between the quote unquote momentum and celebrity power behind Kamala and Trump's own celebrity power?
Kamala can't fill a freaking high school lunchroom without paying people to come in there and see it. We all saw it this week with that thing that she did, where there's the pictures of her in the auditorium or lunchroom or whatever the hell that was. And she's got like 15 people standing behind her so they can have a really close in shot of her making this speech. And you pan out and it's just a bunch of news people and nobody else. And then you compare that to a Trump rally where there's 15,000 people, there, and he's up there doing his, stupid dances and everything. But yeah, I mean, Trump does not need these celebrity endorsements. Kid Rock, yeah, sure, he's cool. I mean, but come on, Hulk Hogan, he's like, let me tell you something, brother. Everybody needs to vote for Trump because he's the man, and he knows how to turn when he gets shot. And
he looks good for his age, though, man.
It's not changing anybody's mind, though.
No, he's not changing anyone's mind.
And
Exactly.
It's just
Does
funny.
anyone need a celebrity? Like, are you voting because Taylor Swift
not at
said?
all.
Well, I specifically only vote for whoever Mr. Beast votes for. So.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you about that, Brian, because a big part of this, a lot of like young influencers do have representation at some of these talent agencies. Like you mentioned Destiny, also Hassan Piker, I believe the Young Turks are also repped. And these are the people who basically bring these people brand deals, right? But you also have the Krasensteins and Harry Sisson who are flat out paid by the DNC to go out there and promote, the Democratic candidates. But what's interesting about this lately is like you have influencers on the other side of the aisle, most notably Aiden Ross, and Jake Paul, who basically, they have a big following, and Trump never paid them, but they sat down with Trump and actually did long form interviews to their huge audiences. And I think that's something that's kind of being glossed over in this stuff. Do you want to talk about the difference between paid endorsements from these crazy leftist influencers versus free endorsements from influencers on the other side?
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Jeremy, the quartering Jeremy, he shared a link where you can go sign up as an influencer to get like $150 to post to your social media platform. And you put your socials in there, and I guess it automatically checks to see if you're if you have enough followers to qualify. I put it in my YouTube, and I totally qualified. I was like, okay, cool. Next step, I'm gonna get $150, and then I got to the page where it's like all posts, videos, and pictures had to be approved by the administration. I'm like, I'm never gonna get past that part, so I left the page. But the thing is, yeah, when Logan Paul endorsed Trump, I don't like, everyone knows this, I don't like Logan Paul. I don't like the Paul brothers. I think they're ridiculous people.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. Jake is clearly on a human growth hormone or something. That guy is just becoming larger and larger, like not fat, just like mass. But you know what? It's great that they had Trump on. And it's good that they gave him a platform to speak his views, freely. That's good. And it's the same thing with Aiden Ross. Although I think most of Aiden Ross's fans are like 12, so they can't vote. It might help, but how many of those Zoomers are actually able to vote? Either way, it's good that the people that he talks to are not paid, and it's obvious they're not paid. While the other side with Kamala, it's obvious these celebrities are paid. You think Megan the Stallion or whatever her name is going to show up to a Kamala gig without getting a nice paycheck first? Of course not, dude. What's her name? Megan? This is it the or the?
It's the.
Is that like a horse? Is she saying I'm a horse?
I don't know.
Stallion like a horse? I don't understand that.
Do you guys remember the boost that Megan the Stallion gave She-Hulk in terms of how much attention that
I was told I'm not allowed to bitch about that after Deadpool now.
Oh, really?
Why is that? Because he did an NSYNC dance?
Because he did NSYNC.
Because they don't get it.
He did it well. Bye. Because
they don't get how obnoxious that whole twerking thing was. Yeah, and it was a bad series. Anyway,
I'd rather watch Ryan Reynolds twerk than Megan.
Well, duh.
Yeah, I mean,
it's also funny when he does it.
What drives me crazy about all the celebrity endorsement / pushes is also just how incredibly hypocritical everything is about it, because the same people who are trying to complain about corporations influencing elections, right, are the same ones who are like all for the celebrities coming in and doing these events, right? And it just like, to me, it's like, I don't really see what the big difference is. Obviously, you could say, well, total capital is the difference, but we're still talking about like hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars being poured in by Hollywood as an entire entity, by the music industry to a large extent as well, by what these artists doing with their money. And it's like, I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that that's not having a huge influence. Like, you can't at the one hand say I'm worried about big business's influence on the election, but then also at the same time be like, oh, but I'm fine with Hollywood influencing the election.
Yeah.
It's like, it's ridiculous.
It's like the biggest business.
I think it's important to point out that in Hollywood, a lot of these lawyers who are actually agents and managers at these talent agencies and executives at these big studios, a lot of them are from the Obama administration. They're former Obama people that moved to Hollywood and got jobs there after Obama left office. So there's definitely like some political bias going on here. But Smitty, before we wrap up this topic, I wanted to ask you, like, how effective do you think it is that Kamala Harris is putting on basically free concerts to make it seem like there's actual momentum behind her campaign, as opposed to Trump, who just shows up and has like that feeling of momentum? Like, he had the same thing going on in 2020, but obviously that didn't really pan out for him. But again, we don't have COVID to deal with this time around. What's your take on the whole like astroturfed concert thing versus actual political momentum?
Just trying to reach children, dummies who are swayed by entertainment. They do what their friends do, that kind of stuff, and it's. I mean, there's a huge majority out there that they're starting to tap into. They're not just tapping into the older people or the middle-aged white women with the abortion problems and all of that stuff, which I completely understand. But now they're just trying to get all these kids, which I completely get. But I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like at this point, who you're going to vote for, and I mean, there's so much money just being thrown away just for you to be going around the country and just people to applaud you, and you just saying the same shit in every state. Just, I mean, it's incredible amounts of money just being wasted just so you can talk to people who are already going to vote for you. It just seems stupid to me.
Yeah, I think Trump should, if Trump wants he should be like campaigning in states that are purple. Like Trump, the rallies or whatever are cool, but what?
I mean, I think kind of what he is doing. I mean, they're focusing on those battleground states. I mean, Kamala Harris has been in Nevada. She's been up the street here like 18 times in the last 3 months. It's ridiculous, and I'm getting sick of the traffic problems that she causes, to be perfectly honest.
But I think you bring up a good point, though. Like, those traffic problems, like, whose minds are they changing by being there?
They're
like, do
pissing
you
people
honestly
off.
think that the people showing up to either rally are showing up being like, I wonder if my mind will be changed by this? No, like, the people going are the people who are like, I'm ready to vote. So I do ask that. I think that's a very good question that Smitty brings up. Like, whose minds are they actually changing by having? Obviously, you could say it's about trying to motivate the people that will vote. So maybe trying to ensure that they actually will show up on election day and that they'll have that same level of excitement. But other than that, it's like, you're not really changing minds at that point, right? You're not really moving the needle one way or the other in either case. And that's why I think also you're not going to really see anything like that happen until something like a debate happens, because it's only then that people actually who might be somewhat middle of the road have on TV a split screen of the two people.
I think it's funny.
Say, oh, that's this person. Oh, that's this person.
I think it's funny that Kamala keeps accusing Trump of being afraid to debate, when in his last debate he literally killed the political future of the sitting president of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That debate is why she's the nominee. It went so poorly.
Yeah, let's be honest though. He took himself out. Okay, like
did he though?
No,
yes.
That was
He's the one that struggled. I mean, he was the one that was did Trump have good lines in there? Sure, but he's the one that ultimately took himself.
Trump capitalized on it though, for sure.
Oh yeah, but I'm just
well the whole thing, because they weren't expecting him to agree to that debate, and Trump basically checkmated them by saying like, okay, I'll go in with CNN, I'll agree to every single one of your demands, let's do this debate, because they were trying to hide Biden. And they were trying to get the talking point that Trump was afraid to debate them, but Trump just said, "Screw it, I'll go in there," and that was the turning point, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And also to say that people can't change minds. Let's not forget that here in Vegas, Mr. Butters, this is where Kamala basically said no tax on tips, stealing Trump's own.
Oh yeah.
That was crazy.
And
she recently stole a JD Vance thing too. She's been stealing. I mean, hey, you know what? Honestly, if she gets elected and does those things, all right, cool. Thank you for stealing them.
But I am seeing that the fact that she's taking Trump's platform and adopting it herself, that is changing people's minds. Like maybe not the hardest of the hardcore, but there are people who are like kind of like lukewarm on Kamala, and they're like, yeah, I'll vote for her. Then they're hearing it's like, wait a minute, she wants to do the same thing Trump wants to do. So like they're either taking themselves out of the voting pool or they're leaning more towards Trump because of that type of thing. It's very interesting. Speaking of being interesting, guys, we have a 199 super chat from You Fuck Dat, where he says, them Swifties off of Trump now. It's trending on X. Yes.
Yeah, Swifties.
Have you guys seen Swifties for Trump?
Yeah. There was an AI of Taylor Swift wearing a MAGA hat, and there's people on Facebook that have no idea they don't even know what AI is. They're like, oh, I'm so glad she's voting for Trump now. I'm like, it's so obviously AI. Like the text isn't even like legible, you know?
Yeah, no, but Brian, there are a lot of Taylor Swift fans who are basically wearing T-shirts that say like Swifties for Trump, and so like they're saying that we're not all in lockstep with her endorsement of Kamala.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's just starting. I just started seeing it on X today. And speaking of seeing stuff, guys, our top contributor, Brian Gaston, $100. Politics have become so satirical. Further proof we are living in a simulation. I'd like to see Trump go full Bullworth and just wrap it all of his debates and press conferences.
That's awesome.
Bullworth actually hired someone to try to assassinate him. So maybe that's another conspiracy theory we can put out there.
I'm getting more and more convinced that we're in a simulation every day. For real. Yeah. It's starting to freak me out a little bit. Did you guys see that video that came out? I think I saw it on Twitter just a couple of days ago about the reflection of the Lamborghini in front of the store from this parking lot, but there's no Lamborghini parked in front of the store. But there was a reflection of one in the window of the store.
Dude, the simulation is starting to glitch out, bro.
And that was it. There's a glitch in the Matrix, and that was the video. And it was like a full on, just like, you know, video from your phone. I'm gonna have to see like a find that and show it to you.
It
freaked me out. It freaked me out. I'm like,
I gotta say this video. There's a really good video about that theory that does like it's. I don't believe in simulation theory. However, if I did, then I can see how other people would, because given enough time, everything is going to eventually get to that point where someone at some point is in the simulation. Maybe it's not us, but in like 1,000 years, we're going to create an AI that is sentient, that is then in simply a simulation. Then they're going to create an AI that is sentient. And at some point, it's like that box, the Rick and Morty box, the Weibo box thing. They're going to keep making the simulation on simulation on simulation. At some point, which one is the head, the real, you know, not simulation? It's nutty, man. It's nutty.
Well, guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about George Clooney. And basically, we have an IndieWire article here where George Clooney basically is complaining that Hollywood is getting eaten up by Walmarts and Amazons of the world. And he's basically saying that, you know, all these studios, they're no longer these like kind of cool movie studios where creative people can develop their careers. They're now owned by these conglomerations that are just churning out content left and right, regardless of the quality. But his big thing is that there are no more movie stars anymore. The studio system used to actually like cultivate actors and make them into stars, and he's like that no longer happens. But in addition to that, I thought it was kind of funny because gotta love Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino basically came out and said George Clooney is no longer a movie star, and Clooney was like, "Fuck you, man," you know. But Tarantino, you know, he calls it like he sees it. He doesn't have a filter. And Clooney is one of these guys, he used his celebrity to throw a fundraiser with both Obama and Biden. And that's where Jack Black got up in his American overalls and said that it was cool to vote for Biden. And then right after the debate, Clooney comes out and was like, "Man, I saw him at the fundraiser I threw. He's done. Like he's not there. Like we need to get someone new in there." So Clooney was like at the tip of the spear for Obama's overthrow of Biden in favor of Harris. But I think it's interesting that he brings up the idea that Hollywood's becoming more and more corporatized, and there's no such thing as movie stars anymore. So I wanted to get the panel's quick reaction to that. Smitty, do you think that Hollywood suffers from a lack of movie stars?
No, I don't. I mean, every now and then there's a changing of the guard. You see all the ones that we grew up with, Schwarzenegger and all of them. They go away, and you got the new ones that come in. And George Clooney saying that Obama, that Biden, should be gone. It wasn't him that did that. Like, we all have eyes. Like, we saw how shitty he was when he stood up there with his mouth open and he looked like he was asleep. And I'm a Democrat, right? I'm a Democrat, and I did not. I did not want him up there. I saw that, and I
That
was just
split
like, oh,
screen
God.
was so damning. Like having him right next to like this vibrant, normal looking Trump, who was actually very reserved because normally he's like screaming and yelling, and then you have Trump, Biden.
Yeah, Brian, let's let Smitty finish his thought on that one. Then I'll throw it to you.
I believe that there are still movie stars. It's just the ones that we knew are now gone, and now the younger generation have their own movie stars. Like the younger guys who are coming up are going to be their Schwarzeneggers and stuff like that. So no, they're still movie stars. It's just the older ones feel like they're being pushed out the door, and they are. So it is what it is.
So
And that's
Brian,
traditional either. It's like now the movie stars is about people watching on Netflix or watching it on streaming versus in the theater. I think that's the other
I was
reason
gonna
why
say-
too it's hard to see. Yeah,
I was going to disagree. I don't think there is a movie star really anymore. Not like there used to be. It's not the same because the movies used to be. It was like I'm going to see a Schwarzenegger movie. I'm going to see a Stallone movie. I'm going to see a Van Damme movie, what have you, or a Clint Eastwood movie, whatever. Nowadays, kids don't say I'm going to see the latest Timothée Chalamet movie or I'm going to see the latest, Jai Courtney movie. No, they're just there for the IP now, and that's where Tarantino's coming from. And this, I think, is an extension of what he was saying before about how he agrees with Scorsese, and in a sense that he was saying is that it's not the kids' fault. It's the fact that these kids have been raised with nothing but movies like Harry Potter and Marvel films, and they wouldn't know what to do with a film like Taxi Driver, but they can understand it if it's fed to them like Joker, right? Like that's the difference. And Joker is the movie star, right? It's not Joaquin Phoenix. Sure, they know who Joaquin Phoenix is,
Right.
but the closest thing I can say anymore to movie stars that we used to have that are like naturally made are like Timothée Chalamet and Jenna Ortega and maybe
Sydney
like
Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney to a point, right? Like she has yet to prove herself per se. Ryan Reynolds might be one of the few cases, but a lot of the guys you're going to be able to come up with and gals that you come up with for examples, I guarantee you most of them got famous 2 decades ago, right? That's the problem. It's kind of the same thing with music. In almost every avenue of art right now, there's this stagnant nature to it where it's just refurbish the old thing, but with, young people. Like we saw that with Alien this weekend, and I didn't go see that because it looked like they're just trying to member bury us into going to see this movie when it's like, I know that's not Ripley. You can make her look like Ripley all day long. You can make her act like Ripley, but it's just a Ripley off. It's not the real thing. And really that's all this movie looked like is aliens with new, young, diverse cast for a modern audience, right? It's like, that's all you can do now. You can't show me anything new. You can't show me anything different. You can't come up with something on your own. That's what creates movie stars, right? That's what creates franchises. The last few things I can think of even close to that is like John Wick, and that was with Keanu Reeves, a movie star from the 80s, right? Like, I mean, that's where we're at right now. The biggest movies in the last 5 years, aside from maybe Dune, have had movie stars from the past 2-3 decades ago. And Dune is one of the only ones. Wonka might be the only other exception. And that's where you got like Timothée Chalamet. And like I said, Jenna Ortega is on the cusp of proving to us that she can be a movie star, probably with Beetlejuice. But then again, you're looking at something that Beetlejuice is actually the movie star here, right? It's
Right.
not
when-
even Michael Keaton anymore.
I think we're
When
seeing
it-
Glenn
when it
Powell
come-
at a point now too.
Well, when it comes to movie stars are people that could open a movie based off their name alone. It didn't matter the quality of the
Exactly.
movie. It was the fact that they were in the movie that drew the crowds in. Nowadays, Tom's absolutely right. It's all about the IP. The IP is what draws the crowds as opposed to the people in the movie. But I want to throw this. I want to throw this to Brian, and then we'll get to Odin and Butters real quick. Brian, Clooney had that famous fundraiser where Jimmy Fat or what's his name?
Jack Black.
No. The late night talk show host,
Jimmy Fallon,
Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel. What was
Kimmel.
on stage. Obama was up there with Biden, and Biden completely froze. Like he was just like frozen in place, and Obama had to literally lead him off the stage.
Yep.
And when people started calling that out, the White House was like, "Oh, that's a cheap fake. That's a cheap fake." No one had ever heard that term before until that moment. But then Clooney, like he kept his mouth shut like a good little soldier up until after the debate, where you couldn't say that was a cheap fake.
Right.
And it just goes to show like how fake and phony a lot of these so-called movie stars are. And I do feel like Clooney's kind of like at the tail end of like a bygone era where like, you had people who could open these movies, and Clooney has kind of squandered his fame in recent years. He's just kind of chilling out in his villa in Italy. And Tarantino's absolutely right. He's no longer a movie star. He can't
He's no
open a
movie
movie
star.
on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what's your take on this and the fact that basically Clooney threw a fundraiser and didn't say anything until it became obvious that Biden had to go?
Well, yeah, I think that he's like typical of these celebrities. Like they're in it for themselves. So he could have totally have said, cheap fake. I don't know what you're talking about. I was there. That dude was out of it. But no, he's got to toe the company line. He's got to stay in lockstep, because let's be real, like you want to keep working in Hollywood, you can't buck the system. You can't go against the grain. And the grain is, it's liberal, it's left wing. And so if you want to continue working in Hollywood and you're not already ridiculously out of control famous, you really can't have your own mind. And if you have your own mind, you better keep that to yourself. And as someone, I know people that have worked in Star Trek. I've been to these studios. I've talked to, you'd be surprised how very similar to us a lot of people that I've talked to behind closed doors are, but then you see their Twitter posts and you're like, dude, that guy's a leftist. He's not, or she's not, but they have to post that because they're working with a bunch of hardcore leftists and they want to keep working. They're not at the point yet where they can post their mind and not lose their jobs. That's the way it is in Hollywood.
Well, Odin, you mentioned the marketing factor a little bit ago, and that is kind of like part and parcel to not only making a successful movie, but having a successful personal brand as a movie star. And I think that a lot of like the younger up and coming actors, like, Tom mentioned Timothée Chalamet, but you also have like, who's the actor that plays Spider-Man? Tom Holland. You got Zendaya. You got like, kind of the people that Smitty pointed to in terms of like, the younger up and coming movie stars, but their marketing seems really bad. It doesn't seem like it really catches on beyond maybe like a small youth audience. So what's your take on the current marketing of the movie star, and why do you think that we don't have any right now?
Yeah, I was saying, I think a big part of it is not only that the power of the star has just really just diminished quite a bit, but it's also because, especially with, you add in like all the changes that happened with COVID, but also the drop in quality, where a lot of these studios have kind of just really doubled down on pushing the same stories and the same IPs over and over again, where it got very monotonous, and so people were finding other means. I think the dawn and the rise of streaming has also now given other people more and more options. And I think you can go back a little bit in time to think about, what happened to movie-going audiences when television was introduced, and the impact that had in the long run. Obviously, movies have still existed and still been able to persist, but I definitely think you can argue that there were definitely some some changes that had to be made on the, movies had to change. Movies had to become something a little bit different than before. And so I think you're now kind of seeing that happen too. But yeah, I always go back to, it really is still, even though there are certain actors that seem to be in successful films, it has partly to do with IP, but it is, I think, a lot more about how the film is marketed, word of mouth. I think those are things that obviously have also a much more profound impact. And one of the examples I like to always think about more recently is you look at the likes of Mission Impossible, right? Where that film had Tom Cruise. Everyone was like, oh man, Tom Cruise, he was in Top Gun and this was going to be huge. But Top Gun Maverick itself did not become the phenomenon that it was until people actually started seeing it, talking about it, spreading it. The marketing also was very effective with that. And then it was also the movie itself was able to really be appreciated by a lot of people. And so you then jump ahead to Mission Impossible, and I thought that film was actually really, really fun, very, very solid. And yet a lot of people didn't go to see it. And part of that is because of how they released it. But another part of it is that it was marketed in such a way where I think probably a lot of people were, okay, I don't know if I can watch, X amount of movies, right? And of course, the title being as long and as ridiculously long as it was. So that's why it's this mixture of things that honestly need to be met in order to get it. And I was going to say, that's why I also would add kind of someone like a Glenn Powell in there, because he's actually having a lot of success at the film. It's not, though, because of him being in it. It's because he's being in films that present him well and are ones that are being, kind of taken in, becoming kind of like their own entities. And he has, in the case of Twisters, a film no one thought was going to be making as much money as it is. It has a huge budget, which is going to hold it back theatrically. It's going to make a lot more money post-theatrically, of course. But I think that you look at that, and then you look at the film that he had last year with Sydney Sweeney, and it's like that film was even itself mediocre, but because of the chemistry and because of word of mouth and because couples wanted to go see it, it was able to bring out money. And so there's just a lot more factors that bring about successes at the box office now, whereas before, an actor, a star, could drive it themselves. Now you need every single thing working for you almost to be able to get money.
Yeah,
I
and
could have
speaking
told
of
you Twisters was going to be a hit. I did.
speaking of driving, the popularity itself, Mr. Butters. So you have a lot of these kind of like, I hesitate to use the term washed up, but someone like George Clooney, who isn't quite front of mind when it comes to like movie stars, like they kind of pivot to the political end and use what celebrity they have to kind of like influence peddle essentially. But when Quentin Tarantino was being interviewed, he was kind of naming the movie stars of Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. And the interviewer said, "What about George Clooney?" And Tarantino basically said, name me a movie since the millennium that he's been in that signals that he's a movie star. And Clooney's like, since the millennium, that's kind of my whole fucking career. It's like, no, the 90s was your
Yeah.
career.
Well, not only that, he's more like The Rock. If you take away his ensemble pieces, he has jack and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
his Ocean's 11 movies, that kind of stuff.
yeah, when it comes to George Clooney, it's like he's not really a movie star anymore. And
I disagree.
He's still a star,
All right.
man.
all right,
I mean,
all right.
we're
State
talking
your
about
case.
him now,
He's
right?
a TV star. At
There's
best.
no case to state. He's just you think of top tier people in Hollywood. George
But
Clooney's up there. He's up
can
there
you-
with Brad Pitt. He's up there.
Can you state a starring vehicle that he was in since the millennium that did like amazing?
When the Ocean's movies comes out, I don't know, man. It's just not the point. The point is he has influence. We're talking about him right now as we speak because he has an influence level of way above most people in the world.
That's true.
Just because he's living with his hot ass wife in his castle on some lake in Italy, he's out of the Hollywood scene part of the time. But what are we supposed to say? He's living the good life because of his celebritydom. His celebrity. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know how you
But-
classify.
He's
a
absolutely
star.
a movie star. This movie coming out, Wolves. He's Brad Pitt and George Clooney. I'm in. I want to see that movie.
But I'm
And
only
in,
going to see
you
that
know,
movie because they're together.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. But it's just whatever. It's just it's silly.
Dutch,
I mean, he's not a Timothy Chalamet is not George Clooney. Okay.
I
didn't
need
go
to
watch
hop
the
in.
dude.
I need to hop in real quick, Dutch, because we have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on our super chat goals.
Okay.
We've only hit 5 of the super chat. So if anybody wants to try to get it in there, otherwise we're not going to be doing any coke on stream.
Oh no.
So just wanted to give you guys that heads up.
No one told me there's going to be Coke.
Yes, Coca-Cola, Coke Zero. Guys, we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and being here and donating via super chats and gifted memberships. You guys are awesome. We have the greatest community out there, in my opinion.
Awesome. Apparently, I'm a tool now, but okay, whatever. Okay.
You've always been a tool, Mr. Butters. So it's nothing new. But want to thank my fantastic panel of nerds for being here and nerding out with us as always. Odin of OMB Reviews. Any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
You can find me over at OMB Reviews on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, over on Twitter as well. All the different platforms, OMB Reviews. And I will say, Dutch, I think that you are correct. I think that he is a absolute star. I think that it really comes down to how we define our terms. And I would say as a traditional movie star, he is not. But as a star that happens to be in movies, I think there's no denying the fact that he is a star and he has massive star power.
All right. And Tom Connors Jr., I want to thank you for remaining mostly conscious throughout this live stream. I know it was very difficult for you. Any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Yeah, I'm confused because I thought we were going to talk about DeMeo and stuff, but I guess not. You can find me at Midnight's Edge After Dark, all sorts of wonderful places where YouTubing is happening.
Right
YouTubing.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Maybe next time we do a super chat target, we'll have Tom eat cereal live on stream, do an ASMR thing.
That'd be riveting.
That'd be
I
riveting.
had Cocoa Krispies this morning.
Very nice, very nice.
Don't tell Mike.
Oh, I won't. All right, Smitty's Snippets, guys. Check out Smitty's channel, link in the description and the live stream pinned chat. I can't tell you how much I enjoy Smitty's channel. Like, he just has these very laid back, funny takes on bad TV shows, bad movies. Smitty, you just released your Deadpool and Wolverine review. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but you're always best when the movie's shitty, so in my opinion. Yeah. But do you have any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
You can find me on YouTube, Smitty Snippets. Final thought: be kind to each other, man. You know, if your political affiliations are a trigger, then stop fucking asking. Just inquire about the human being that you're talking to and have a beer, because where we're headed is not a great place. So be kind to each other, man. That's it.
That's a good message. Brian from the Popcast, any final thoughts, and where can people be kind to you?
I agree with that, Smitty. Be cool, man. Be cool.
Be cool, man.
Be cool, man. I did want to talk about the DeMeo thing, some bummer, because like that when I read that article about him sending himself nude in superhero poses to his underlings as inspiration, I laughed my butt off. So
for those of you who don't know, we're talking about the executive producer of the X-Men 97 animated show on Disney Plus, who got basically fired before the premiere, and he's now suing Disney for slander or wrongful termination or something. But Disney's like, well, here's why we fired him, and they released inappropriate information about like him sending very suggestive pictures to staffers after multiple times of complaining.
It's inspiration. That's so messed up.
Yeah, he's like, draw Cyclops like this, and he like takes his shirt off and he like flexes his muscles.
So messed up. Yeah. Anyways, you can find me at the podcast. Our big doc, 2.5 hours. Our next doc is 2.5 hours. It's taken me 3 weeks. It's been a slog. It's too long.
It's too long.
I told Shane that. I told Shane it's too long. But this one, it had a lot of information.
Comes out like next 4 parts.
Next Friday, and it's gonna be it'll probably be our longest video of all time. It comes out next Friday. Go check it out on the Podcast main channel.
All right, and Mr. Butters, what's going on the Salty Nerd Gaming channel?
Salty Nerd Gaming channel. We're doing live streams, and we're doing podcasts twice a week, and almost daily game streams. We're doing stuff all the time. It's crazy. Playing Warhammer 40K now. We're playing Helldivers. We're getting ready to go into some other games just for some fun to change things up a little bit. But join us over there at Salty Nerd Gaming, and it's saltynerddiscord.com, where we have a really fun and growing community. It's a lot of fun. And on this channel, we're getting ready to get back in the studio. We took a week off because of the nonsense. The Kool-Aid guy broke through our wall and tried to steal some shit. And
Well, he did steal some shit.
yeah,
He did.
and now Kadish is like literally strapping everything that doesn't move to the ground with rubber belts, and it's insane. You guys, I'm gonna have to show you some pictures of what he's doing to the office.
You
It's
guys need a
crazy.
security officer.
Yeah,
But,
you need to hire like an old Shaolin monk just to
It's like,
patrol
Matt,
area.
I want to move my monitor a quarter inch to the left.
No.
No,
No.
you cannot move it. It's strapped down to the desk.
It'll set off the alarm. Don't move it.
He's gluing everything down. That's funny.
It's crazy. It's insane. But we're going to be doing. We're going to be continuing with our August Bites theme. We're going to be watching Anaconda, and I don't know if we got Dog Soldiers on the menu. I'm not sure if we're watching that this week or next week. And we're starting a brand new series where we're going to be going through at least the first season of Peaky Blinders. So that's going to be fun.
Nice.
So, and I've never actually watched that, and we decided to do something that we all wanted to actually watch that didn't suck. So.
All right, guys. Well, unfortunately, we didn't hit our super chat goal, but that's YouTube's problem. That's not ours.
All right, let's hurry up and get this out of the way. I'll take the shirt off.
No,
You guys
no,
see
no,
it.
no,
But I do want to thank Evan Paul.
No, don't do that. Jesus. Oh, it's only on Culture Casino's channel where we get naked, okay? So
Bohemian Shorty Short and You Fucked That. Old Man Rising. Mexican.
Oh.
Is it just me? No, never mind.
Nope, it's
Yeah,
not.
If
It's
someone
just,
said, "Uh-oh," I knew that.
oh, we lost Kadish.
He's
lost
totally roboted it.
Whoa, that's never happened.
Oh,
Whoa.
I-
I think someone is stealing his internet in real time.
Well, the cop is here working on
The wifey's
working on
watching
cable.
Netflix.
Oh no.
just push stop. Just push in stream, Matt. Let's go.
All right. Well, Brian G, thank you so much for the show. And till next Saturday, same salty time, same salty channel. Stay salty, my friends.